This is a continuation to my last theory about Luffy's Gear 5th. I wasn't very specific in the video since it was rushed, so this will go into a lot more detail. Ever since we saw Luffy's Gear 4th, we knew there was going to be a lot more development and trump cards for Luffy to pull out in the new world. We also noticed with the fight with Dofi, Luffy doesn't have a full understanding of devil fruits quite yet. Crocodile and Doflamingo have both told him about the perfection of devil fruits, which is also named Awakening. During the time skip flashback, it is heavily implied that Luffy has learned more than Gear 4th. This idea is proven by Rayleigh's presence during this point in the time skip. Rayleigh left 6 months before the end of the 2-year time skip, so Rayleigh was not only still there when Luffy had Gear 4th, but he said he needed something more efficient. If Rayleigh had stuff to still teach him, that means it was a fair amount of time before the 1.5 year point. So to be fair, we could say that this was somewhere around the end of the first year of the time skip. Rayleigh also noted during Luffy's return to Shibundi that he had grown a lot during the 6 months he was training alone. If Oda tried to outline this during the Gear 4th flashback, that means he's foreshadowing the reveal of new powers for Luffy. This could act as a basis for developing a final gear. But what could these powers be? A further level of devil fruit abilities is always a possibility, but I believe this could be related to Haki. Luffy described the 3 colors of Haki as being the basics, meaning there is more to Haki than these standard abilities. This idea is further driven home by Zoro and Sanji. Azura and Diable Jambe are both unexplained abilities. They were introduced as casual power-ups, yet never had any real coverage behind them. Since both Zoro and Sanji do not have devil fruits, it doesn't look like we can point these abilities to anything other than Haki. Haki is based on the fundamentals of Ki, thus why it's named Ha-Ki. Ki is closely related to the Western word energy. It is also often displayed as an aura that emits from your body. The word Haki was first used by Blackbeard when describing Luffy. He said Luffy's bounty was too low for his Haki, meaning even pre-Skypia, Luffy had some level of Haki, despite not knowing about the colors of it. Blackbeard was able to detect Luffy's basic Haki energy, or Ki, emitting from his body. So what Azura and Diable Jambe could be are this raw form of Haki emitting from their body. Kaku, similar to Blackbeard, also noted that Azura stemmed from Zoro's spirit, and Oda also stated in an SBS that Sanji's Diable Jambe was conjured by his spirit burning like fire. Diable Jambe, which means devil's leg, draws connection to the Western Satan. Sanji is also first seen transforming into the devil in Thriller Bark, and later turning it into an attack during the Fishman Island arc. The theme of Azura and the devil are drawn from anti-gods in several religions. In Christian and other Western religions, the devil is the antagonist of God. In several Indian religions, Azura is the anti-god similar to the devil, and displays many sins such as wrath, envy, pride, etc. If this spiritual energy reflected by Zoro and Sanji relate to anti-gods, it is also possible Luffy may have a similar Haki aura of his own. Most final devil fruit forms also involve a devil fruit transformation. Looking at Enel, Monet, and Magellan, their devil fruits morph them into powerful and godly beings. In Chinese mythology and lore, Sun Wukong is the Chinese anti-god that tried to overthrow the heavens and challenge the great Buddha. This is nearly identical to Azura and the devil. Luffy bears many similarities to Sun Wukong. Luffy's family name is Monkey, and he wants to become king, similar to Sun Wukong, who declares himself the Monkey King. He has an ability called the 72 Transformations, which is very similar to Luffy's Gear 4th, which allows him to morph his muscles using armament Haki combined with his rubber body to use several animal-based attacks such as Reno Schneider, Lion Bazooka, Kong/Gorilla Gun, and others. Luffy was trained by monkeys as a kid and later on earns the respect of great beasts, just like Sun Wukong did early in life. And Gear 4 style also hints at continuing this Eastern theme based on Buddhist figures, also giving Luffy a very similar hairstyle and sage-like look to Sun Wukong. Lastly, the best evidence we have of Sun Wukong being connected to Luffy is Dragon Ball Z. Son Goku is the direct inspiration of Sun Wukong, and Oda, the writer of One Piece, has stated he drew inspiration from Goku's character for Luffy. This means there is a connection from Luffy to Sun Wukong. In Journey to the West, there are very similar aspects to One Piece as well. Sun Wukong, who dreamed of becoming a king equal to heaven, was put down by the gods and heavens. Later on, he was able to overcome the heavens and take down many gods in the process. This could be similar to Luffy and the Straw Hats defying the Gorosei and Mary Joa, who are called gods. Going further into Luffy's individual powers, I believe Luffy will develop his own distinct Haki. He has already been able to make it rubbery by combining it with his Devil Fruit, so maybe we will see a lot more unique factors in the future. Zoro has shown this through his armament haki. Unlike anyone else, his armament has a cursed aura around it, resembling his Azura demon aura he used pre-time skip. His haki has developed around Azura. With this, I believe the mastery of his haki was what Rayleigh was hinting at when he said Luffy needs something more efficient than Gear 4th. He needs to master his individual haki instead of relying on his Devil Fruit like he has been. But I do think his Devil Fruit will have a huge role as well in this gear, and will need his haki to be driven to the max. For this reason, I think it might not be named Gear 5th, but rather named Gear Overdrive. I made a Gear Overdrive video in the past, and I said it could be used to boost lower gears, but since the Overdrive gear is the highest and most efficient gear in a transmission, it could most likely also apply in this case. This final gear would be the highest and most efficient, just like what Rayleigh told Luffy to develop. There seems to be evidence pointing to Scopper Gaban, one of Roger's crewmates, being in Wano Kuni. We saw a man meet up with Crocus in Twin Cape, who has the same hairstyle as Scopper and was also wearing Wano Kuni attire. Luffy usually loses his first fight against enemies, so he will most likely lose it against Kaido at first, then get picked back up by Scopper and Wano. Maybe he will teach Luffy how to use his awakening using something similar to Chopper's Rumble Ball, like a drug to aid Devil Fruit training. To transform his whole body, I believe Luffy will need to control his elasticity on a cellular level. Because of cell growth or hypertrophy, his body will become stronger, especially in areas like his bones and muscle. Using an aura similar to Zoro, Luffy may release a haki aura resembling Sun Wukong. The hardening or vulcanization of his rubber body can be done using armament, keeping the size stable. Similar to Lucci's Roku Ogan, it may allow for Luffy to send heavy pulses through his body to create shockwaves in the air. These can be used similar to Sengoku's shockwaves. His thickened body will also be less prone to heavy injury, especially from blunt attacks. Since awakenings tend to also morph the environment, this power can be transferred to the ground by making it elastic and creating giant ripples that can wipe out entire cities. This is necessary to counter Blackbeard's Earthquake Fruit. Lastly, I believe he may be able to use Advanced Haki to conjure a staff similar to Wukong's gold hooped rod that can stretch and expand using Luffy's Rubber Fruit. Armament is defined as weaponry or equipment, meaning it might be used in the future to conjure weapons rather than enhance them. Similar to Luffy, Sun Wukong originally couldn't find a weapon that he liked, but one day he came across the Compliant Rod that followed his commands. Maybe Luffy will also be able to create a weapon out of haki even stronger than his own body. Luffy has used weapons before, such as in Nightmare Luffy mode. In several cover pages, he has also been seen wielding polearms, and in the flashback with Ace and Sabo, Luffy is seen wielding a pipe staff most of his childhood, meaning he is most familiar with a staff. Many big pirates didn't use weapons when they were young, but later on, guys like Roger, Whitebeard, and Rayleigh are seen using weapons, and even Whitebeard enhancing his spear with his Devil Fruit. This mode may seem overpowered, but it'll probably have a serious drawback such as mental fatigue, and maybe even putting Luffy into a coma after using it. But it'll put him on a level where he can fight the Yonko and become Pirate King. Rayleigh most likely taught him most of what there is to know about haki, and will build a basis for his overall haki understanding. And Scopper Gaban will be the one to teach him about the full potential of Devil Fruits. Both Devil Fruit powers and haki being driven to the max will be the basis for Gear 5th, like Yin and Yang.